It is week 3 of the NFL season, and we are here to talk about some Dynasty. Buy high, sell low, hit the button, producer.
Okay.
Welcome once again to the Dynasty Pulse right here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, the Undroppables, and Terrestrial Radio 105.1, talking West Tennessee. We are back. It's week 3. It's the week 3 Dynasty Pulse weekend warm-up. We're talking Lions. We're talking Charmin toilet tissue. This is the best collection of ball knowers in the business. There's stiff competition out there, but we're stiffer. How you guys doing?
Oh, doing awesome.
Fantastic.
Can't get any
I'm
better.
Bigz. We got Schultzy. We got Grindberg. Chev GPT is in the house, and Coach Retzlaff as always. Let's get this party started. We have probing questions. Probe me.
Let's play the probing video. We haven't had the probing video in forever, Schultzy. We need to get that one on the screen here. Let's probe our experts.
We are the experts. Yeah, we're the experts today, so we're going to get probed.
Sometimes just being off the cuff and improvising doesn't work.
No.
Sometimes it works really well, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
Well, that was me in the video. If you didn't notice, that was my younger years when I was actually studying to become a doctor, and I was a world famous prober back in the day. So we are going to continue that trend here, and let's get into this. Let's talk about some of the biggest storylines in football. In fantasy football in the last couple of weeks here, and we'll start with the Lions. They didn't just win on Sunday. They made a statement. It was may go down as one of the most dominant offensive performances in their franchise history. Detroit steamrolled the Bears 52-21, reminding the league and fantasy managers why this team was 15-win powerhouse last year. Jared Goff led the charge with a near perfect performance, 23 of 28, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 156 passer rating. What a game he had. One of the best performances by a Lions quarterback since 1978, trailing only legendary Scott Mitchell in 1995. So
Legend.
What's that, Bigz?
Legend,
exactly. Amon Ra had a huge game and, 3 touchdowns, just a massive fantasy performance. Now, Jeremiah coming into the season, a lot of managers were fading Jared Goff. He's 31, doesn't bring much rushing upside. Ben Johnson was gone. A lot of people were doubting what the Lions would do post Ben Johnson after this historic performance, 5 touchdowns, nearly flawless execution. Is this a sell high window while he's red hot, or has Jared Goff done enough to be considered reliable, still low-end option for contending dynasty rosters moving forward? I mean, last year he had a lot of dome games. It doesn't look like to be the case, but after this one, it might be the case now. Jared, what do you think?
It's going to be liquidity at any point where you want. For Jared Goff, it's essentially going to be sell whenever you want to get off the ride, because I'll lay out a few trades on Dynasty Daddy that I've seen where it's like, you could just kind of go either way. The beauty is, so let's just run down some stats. It's 2 games in, but 5th in adjusted yards per pass attempt, 6th in yards per attempt for him. 2nd, Jared Goff in expected points added at 39.4. 1st in QBR rating. Number 2 in first down rate. 3rd in red zone attempts. So the red zone attempts are there. It's not siphoning by David Montgomery too much yet. And the numbers are just there. It's a beautiful thing. You love to see it. But the beauty is with Jared Goff, I was thinking about this question, and essentially you're always going to be in play to have top 15 play, top half of the league play compared to the other quarterbacks. With every now and then, you're going to get opportunity for top 5 weeks, top runouts. And what's going to be associated with that? the top plays. And we saw this a lot last year, Mike, on our Player Profiler show, Primetime News. We would talk about the top 3 performers at each position, and it would be Jared Goff week with Amon-Ra. It would be Jared Goff with a top 3 or top 5 performance with Sam Laporta, a top boom performance from Jameson Williams, or correlative to Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs. The plays are still all there. We lost Ben Johnson. We had 1 week of playing the Green Bay Packers, and then we switched back to the mode that we saw last year where they just pushed tempo and really kept their foot on the throats of their opponents. So the thing is with Jared Goff is on Player Profiler, he's dynasty ranked 22nd, and you'll see him right around players like Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Jackson Dart, Bryce Young, all those other players. You can tell yourself another story of, oh yeah, I'm really going to want to cash in and go for a Jackson Dart, or I'm really going to just want to keep riding with Dak Prescott and the Cincinnati Bengals version of the NFC. You're really going to want to buy into the Jordan Love bounce back and the younger career arc. There's all these stories that you can tell yourself for quarterbacks that are in that range, which will perpetually keep Jared Goff in that 20s range, late teens range. But when you know you're always going to get top half value or better some weeks, you're going to get some spike top 5 weeks, we'll just hold Jared Goff and why sell? But at the same time, here's a deal that goes out 4 days ago. Jared Goff in a super flex, start 9 for Bryce Young in a 26 round 1 pick. So at that point, how far of a tier down to Bryce Young, who has been struggling, but how much do we believe in Bryce Young enough that we can recoup the differential Goff to Bryce Young, and then you get a 26 first round thrown on top there. And then in another deal, you have Jared Goff for a 26 round 1 and round 2 pick. Essentially, you have to decide, hey, am I cashing out on Jared Goff because of the fact that I'm trying to rebuild and you can get that first and second round pick, and that's a beautiful thing. You love to see it. Or are you live mid or upper tier team in Dynasty, and you're just going to roll with Jared Goff as your number 2 quarterback? If you can tell me your number 2 quarterback, and this used to be somebody like Kirk Cousins as well before he faded, I'm going to get top 15 production and every now and then sprinkled in top 5, top 7 weeks as my second quarterback, just as a metronome, just even keeled, sign me up. So I really think it's in the eye of the beholder where you decide to sell. If you want to get younger, if you want to cash out that tier to Bryce Young in a 26-1, prime perfect example. But if you're still driving and the roads are smooth and you're on the arc where you're a competitor, why cash out on somebody like Jared Goff? He may end up being somebody who is such a metronome that you just keep him steady on your team until he retires. He could go another 5 years the way quarterbacks age. So that you can go both ways on that. But I would just venture to say he's such a steady asset, no threat to be a top tier asset where you think, oh man, I need a second mortgage to get paid. And I think that's part of why, to tie it all up, why Jared Goff ends up staying on a lot of dynasty teams and there's not as much liquidity, because of the fact that the eye of the beholder, the person who has him, understands the value that they're getting, and they can just build a massive team around him.
Still the second best football player born in Novato, California.
Yeah. All right. All right, then. Well, I'll take your word for that one. Absolutely. Good analysis there, Coach. So no concerns here long term about the new offensive coordinator. Now, I think this game kind of solidified. The Lions are here to stay, and they're not going to have any speed bumps. I think they ran into a really tough Green Bay Packers defense week 1, and the Packers are going to show a lot of people, I think, this year what they're all about, and I think they're a really strong defense. So no concerns moving forward about Jared Goff now in that offense with the new offensive coordinator, Coach.
No, I don't see it. And could there just be some growing pains, some differentiation? Sure. But we saw when they hung what they did against the Bears, that just tells me it was more so the Green Bay narrative and story than per se the Lions regressing back. Now, losing coordinators is going to be tough. And things have sharpened from a real NFL perspective, but as far as fantasy football, I like steady on the pulse for somebody like Jared Goff, and we saw it last week.
Can I just throw out a quick "I told you so" about the Detroit Lions offense and the fact that David Montgomery was going to take value away from Jahmyr Gibbs, and there wasn't going to be any kind of downfall because of Ben Johnson leaving? I just want to throw that out there. Just for fun.
All right. Well, let's move on to Brian Thomas Jr., who was supposed to be the next elite wide receiver in year 2 after torching defenses as a rookie with 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns. Expectations sky high with Trevor Lawrence finally healthy, Liam Cohen installing a modernized offense. Instead, the opening act has been underwhelming. Just 60 receiving yards on 18 targets through 2 games, but the story isn't as simple as the box score on Sunday in Cincinnati. Things shifted. Cornerback Jerry Jones left with an injury, and the Jags turned to a two-way team to, rookie as a cover wide out here. Travis Hunter went to defense, and Thomas, his targets went up, his air yards went up, and he saw some more red zone looks. So this could be a trend of things to come. Schultzy, I know you were probably pretty frustrated watching BTJ. He looked hesitant. You actually named him the Charmin. He's pretty soft in your opinion, as in the Grindberg Invitational, you named him that. How are you handling this rocky start from a fantasy perspective? 18 targets, 2 games, elite air yard volume in week 2. Now is it time to buy low on Brian Thomas Jr. before he breaks out, or are the drops, confidence issues, and new offensive scheme enough for you to keep him planted on your bench? Obviously, you're not on your bench, but I mean, planted, a little bit less than high expectations now. What's your thoughts now on this Jaguars wide receiver room?
Look, I think a buy low option presents itself here based on talent alone. Mm-hmm. You don't come on as a rookie and do what he did if you aren't cream of the crop talent wise. So I won't blame anyone for going out buying low on Brian Thomas Jr. And I mean, I would have some interest myself, but on the flip side, that was brutal on Sunday. He single-handedly lost the team this game. We all saw the drop in the red zone. 4th and it was like 5, and he sits in his zone. Trevor hits him in the chest. He turns his head because he knows he needs to fall like 2 yards to get the first, and he would have gotten it. And he turns his head, drops the ball. That first down wins the Jaguars the game. First of all, so the one play right there, he's got another one earlier in the game, that is. He's coming over the middle. Trevor maybe could have gotten the ball out a little sooner, but regardless, he doesn't follow through on his route. He just sticks a hand out there. He slows off, sticks a hand out. The ball deflects, gets picked off. Like zero effort. The body language all day. He was disinterested. He was alligator arming balls. He had a play in the end zone where he literally ducked his head and just threw his arms up. It was bad. He had a play on 3rd down. It was 3rd and short. He took a slant, caught it right at the sticks, and just fell. I went to the Jets game in Jacksonville last year, watched him take a slant over the middle and just explode for like 35 yards. It was so absurd. I giggled. Because I was sitting in the end zone. I was right behind the play. I literally laughed. It was so crazy. He is that fast. He caught the ball and fell. He had one defender to beat, and he was off to the races to the end zone. I don't know what's happening here. They're forcing him the ball. Trevor had a rollout this week to the right in the red zone. He could have ran it in. He threw it to Brian Thomas in the back of the end zone, and he can't get his feet in bounds. I don't know what's going on with this guy. It's very concerning. I'm not going to lie. I don't blame anyone if they don't want to start him. But I'm going to say the caveat here is, once again, the talent is so undeniable that if this clicks and you buy low, your team's going to explode as a result. And as they're developing into this offense and working him over the middle more, this is where we've seen these concerns of him just not playing through some of these plays, and he's shying from contact, and that is scary. That's the development we wanted to see, was use him more over the middle as this true kind of X guy, and so far the results aren't great. I could see this going either way. I'm going to be honest with you. This could crash out. I don't think it's going to crash out this bad. I mean, as concerning as that game was, I do think he turns it around and he's going to be solid still. But there's some legitimate reasons for concern. You can go back into the training camp, and there was a lot of that stuff talking about, Travis Hunter coming in, all the attention he brought. Maybe Brian Thomas wasn't super happy about the pick. Who knows? That felt overblown at the time. Maybe there's something there. The other thing we got here is, I'm not going to get into psychology of it all, but he lost a good friend in Kyron Lacey in college teammate to suicide recently. And that, who knows? That could really be something too. There's a lot going on in this situation. Sunday was scary. It was a pathetic performance from Brian Thomas Jr. Well, the talent's still there. The opportunity's still there for this to explode. But this is interesting.
When you brought up something is off, my psychologist brain immediately kicked into maybe he lost a loved one recently, and this is totally just the mental game on his part. Now you say that he lost a very close friend. That could have a lot to do with it. And that's one of those things that totally flies under the radar in terms of what we do in this space as far as analyzing. You don't see that when you're looking at a spreadsheet. That's some of the human intangible stuff that we don't take into consideration very often.
Coach, what are you going to say? You had something to add to that?
Hey, live on the show, Schultzy, I send you a 26-1 right now for Brian Thomas Jr. in the Grindberg Invitational. Do you accept it?
Oh, I'm not doing that, no.
Okay, just want to check. I
just want to check. It's a good one.
No, like I said, this guy is that good. Rookies don't do that if you aren't that good.
What about a 27-1?
Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, let's go.
What about a 26-second?
And Ollie Gordon, right?
Yeah. And Ollie
what
Gordon.
About
throwing Jackson Hayes or Hawes? Sorry.
All right, let's keep this show rolling here. We got a couple more storylines we got to hit up here, and
do we?
Yeah, we had a breakout party, Bigz, last weekend, and some of us didn't see it coming. Some of us did, and we're going to talk about Odunze through 2 weeks as the number 9 wide receiver overall. He was a promising sophomore. Now it's looking like he is an elite weapon headed into week 3, and he's got a matchup to boot against the Cowboys. This could even build even more so. Odunze, 13 catches, 165 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 2 games, and he's the heartbeat of that Bears offense. He looked great. It's not just noise, it's a signal. Last season, he showed flashes, buried behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Now he's just surpassed them, and he looks like a juggernaut now. So, now you live back in the day here, Bigz. You were a little bit higher on McMillan in that Washington wide receiver room back in the day, but, both of them, you weren't alone in that notion. But now everything is looking like he's the alpha in that offense with Caleb Williams. He's producing in that offense. Everything is clicking now. So be honest with yourself. Has he officially changed your mind now? Is it time to admit he's a legitimate fantasy wide receiver 1, or do you still have concerns about the Bears offense? Could he come back down to earth as the season wears on? They just drafted a bunch of guys that have, were kind of like luxury picks when you think about the draft capital they used on Loveland and Luther Burden.
Well, based on his target share, it looks like he has become Ben Johnson's Amon-Ra St. Brown as far as play calling. But I do want to clarify. I didn't have McMillan ahead of Odunze in terms of talent level. My point was that where Odunze was being drafted, you could take somebody else who was going to be better and also grab McMillan later. Now, the injury to McMillan and him being on the IR notwithstanding, you can still get somebody who has a higher talent level than Odunze and then grab somebody who has a good talent level later on. I'm looking at his values right now, and on Dynasty Daddy, he's kind of on an island unto himself. We have values in the 3,900s ahead of him, and that's T. Higgins and Rashee Rice. I would much rather have Odunze than either of those two guys. Then when you look directly behind him, we have values in the 2900s with Jamison Williams, Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, DK Metcalf. I'm putting him ahead of those guys too. So in terms of looking in the dynasty rankings in the 60s, I certainly have high hopes for Rome Odunze. Now, there are other guys ahead of him. Marvin Harrison is very, very much ahead of him. I'd rather have Odunze at this point. Tedero McMillan, right behind Marvin Harrison. I don't think I'd rather have Rome Odunze than Tedero McMillan. I don't think I'd rather have him than Garrett Wilson. I'm going with Jackson Smith and Jigba or Lad McConkey over him as well. So I think he fits as far as value right around where he should, with a little bit of variation. There are some guys behind him I'd rather have. There are some guys that are ahead of him that I'd rather have him than have them. So it all looks pretty equal. Now, the thing is, in this offense, he's going to have spike games like this. Now you start spreading it around. You start looking at maybe the inefficiency of Caleb Williams, the fact that Caleb Williams is not a finished product yet, and he's going to have games where he gets into the second half and suddenly he's sailing balls all over the place. If that happens, Rome Odunze has a dud game. Does DJ Moore take over? Not necessarily. Do Cole Kmet, Colson Loveland, does that happen? No. I think we look at Rome Odunze and Olamide Zaccheaus as kind of the linchpins in that offense, and everybody else kind of filters in around them. Rome Odunze will have dud games. I think he finishes this year as a top 15, top 20 wide receiver. And it's also 2 weeks into the season. So we don't know what the game plans are going to be. We don't know what happens later on. We don't know if DJ Moore is going to come out and go, you guys owe me $27 million, and I'm going to like pull AJ Brown type business, so get me the ball. We don't know what the development of the tight end is going to be. So there are a lot of variables there. I like Rome Odunze where he's at right now. And, you know, there is ceiling for more.
Anybody got anything to add to Rome at this stage? Chev, what's your thoughts on that Bears offense? I know that you were bigger on Caleb now after a couple of games. You've seen that progression. You've seen him target Rome quite a bit here. So what's your take on that situation? Are you high on Rome now?
I was never not high on Rome. I mean, I'm not going to be revisionist history and like be like, I told you so. But I mean, I had Rome Odunze in the same tier as Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison coming out. So this is just me being like me getting to the same party as everybody else and feeling really good about where Rome Odunze is. So I think he's an elite talent. I've always said that he was an elite talent. I loved his ability to sink his hips and separate, as a bigger guy. I mean, you're seeing that now. Just not having Shane Waldron, which condolences to you, Schultzy, as he is the Jags passing coordinator. Not having Shane Waldron, first we saw it with JSN, who's awesome, and now we see it with Rome Odunze, who is proving to be awesome. I mean, he's a top 10 pick, and he's getting used like such, and they're using 12 personnel at an alarming rate. And so I developed a level of conviction, but I was quiet about it. With Rome Odunze, because you could paint a picture to where you're saying, hey, they're going to run a ton of 12 personnel, right? Cole Kmet's going to be out there, Colson Loveland's going to be out there, and there's going to be two receivers out there. Now, one of those guys is going to be Rome Odunze because there's no skill set overlap with him and anybody else in the offense. And I mean, it's working out that way. Of course he's going to have dud games and games where, the ball doesn't come his way. But through 2 weeks, he's averaging 10 targets a game. He got 9 targets in week 1, 11 targets in week 2. And if they're going to have a ton of garbage time, it's going to allow for, meaningful fantasy production. But we'll also, the people who are convinced that Caleb Williams sucks and he's just not ready, they're going to have their cake and eat it too. So I think that this is an ascending offense. I think that you can still, because of the skepticism about Rome Odunze sustaining this, which again, it's, I think he scored 128, like 29 points last week or 33 points. In one of my leagues, in half PPR, I scored 32 points in one of my leagues last week. So obviously that's not sustainable, but could he be around 15 half PPR points? I absolutely believe so. So I would still be sending out aggressive offers. I got JJ McCarthy in a second for Rome in a league because that I needed a quarterback, and I absolutely hate the fact that I did that now. But I love Rome Odunze. I've never not loved Rome Odunze. So this working out just makes me feel even better.
I feel like him and Caleb are gonna only grow in that scramble ball relationship too. Like we saw it on that one play that Caleb just uncorked one to him, and he high pointed the guy perfectly. Right. I think that aspect of their game is going to grow and really flourish.
Yeah, I mean they're two young ascending players that have insane draft capital with one of the most preeminent minds in the NFL offensively. So yeah, there's room. Like this is not the finished product. If you recall, when Detroit hired Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator, that was a rough go. They started out 1-7, and they were one of the most anemic offenses in the league, and then they just turned it around. So I think it's going to go very similarly, but it's not going to turn around here because they can't play defense. So that offense is going to be geared towards like comeback mode and shootouts, much like the Carolina Panthers. They're going to be in the top of the top when it comes to second half pass attempts, and that bodes well for all of the pass catching options in Chicago.
Yeah, I split the loaf in redraft between Tedero McMillan and Rome Odunze. That's how much I wanted to make sure I got some Rome and I got some Tedero McMillan. And they are playing, and the run out is beautiful. Rome Odunze, 3 touchdowns already. He's matched his touchdown totals from last year. 20 targets, 10 a game. We're averaging 10 targets a game. Granted, it's 2 so far. But even if that goes down between an 8 and 9 range, we're still getting the run out that we want from Rome Odunze. And maybe there's some practice habits or some when the ball isn't in your hands habits that DJ Moore may be struggling with it, or some other receivers who aren't Rome Odunze, because Rome Odunze clearly is just the apple or whatever the saying is. He is just the beholder of such great things for Ben Johnson. And if anybody's in trouble looking around the offense of how it's not working for the Bears right now, Rome Odunze is the one who's, doing great. So it's only going to continue to get better for him. And you have to love the value that you get entry point this year on your redraft and your best ball, and even some of your dynasty startups where you got Rome Odunze, you're not going to be able to get that price forward. So if you're reaping the benefit of, do I start Ricky Pearsall or Rome Odunze? Do I jam in Emeka Egbuka or Rome Odunze? You're having these discussions and these conversations for good reason, because you played, understood the value pocket of selecting Rome Odunze where you did. So it's a beauty in player take, which Chev was highly convicted on. And I think everyone in this room has liked Rome Odunze to a degree. And then also getting price points. So we got price point, entry, and player take. And you're going to see what's Rome Odunze going to be next year? A second round pick, third round pick? I think safely he can be fourth round pick at this point, at least. And of course, ceiling is there to be a first or a second round pick next year.
Yeah, agreed. Now, talking about a guy that was drafted in the same draft class that is kind of now emerging as one of the most elite fantasy assets you can come around, and let's not dance around it anymore. Malik Nabers has arrived. He's already wearing the crown through 2 weeks. He isn't just producing like a wide receiver one. He's dominating in the way that puts him in a rarefied fantasy air after torching Dallas. 9 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Giant star now leads the NFL in targets and sits among the league's top scorers, despite playing in what is, a bottom tier offense that most consider, but doesn't matter who's throwing them the ball at this stage. But now it's Russell Wilson, and he's proven that he could just throw it up, and Malik Nabers is getting open no matter where he is, and he's getting fed at an elite level. even on a team that has question marks everywhere. Nabers is putting up Jamar Chase-like numbers. In fact, after Chase's 14-catch, 165-yard eruption last week, the two LSU alumni sit side by side to me in that elite tier. Chev, he's not just living up to the hype. He's blowing past it, in my opinion, after a monster, couple games. Are we witnessing the next true fantasy alpha, a Jamar Chase level star? And if so, is it time to put Nabers in that elite tier? Maybe starting to ask the question if he's bumping Jefferson out at this stage?
That's a tough question. So we assumed that the Vikings had the quarterback position figured out, and we were going to get the best version of the Vikings offense under JJ McCarthy. But here's the thing. Malik Nabers is undeniable. We've seen him succeed in, like, quite literally one of the worst environments for a rookie wide receiver that we could have ever dreamt of. You had a bad offensive line. You had a coach that was, presumptively on his way out. They just traded their franchise running back. They paid a guy who they didn't want to play and cut at his request at the middle of the season. And all that, Malik Nabers set the record for rookies with targets and receptions by a wide receiver and, target share and targets per route run. And it's just been more of the same. So they bring back Brian Daboll. And when they bring back Brian Daboll, he's like, cool, want to see me do it again? And he got Russ this time. And he got Jackson Dart, who was and he's got Jameis. And so he's got all these guys that are like, hey, let's just throw the ball. Hey, F it. Malik's down there somewhere. So he's number one in air yards right now by 120 air yards. The next closest person is CeeDee Lamb with 290 air yards. He's accumulated over 400 air yards in 2 weeks. Okay, not only that, but he's first in first read target share, or first in first read targets, first in deep targets, tied with Tyquan Thornton. Okay, and only 16 of his targets have been catchable. Like, this is a special talent. And we're getting a ceiling outcome in the worst environment probably that he's going to be in his career. So while I can understand wanting to be a thermostat and not a thermometer and say, hey, I don't want to put him ahead of Jamar Chase because I like Joe Burrow more than I like, Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston or they cut Tommy DeVito. So, but that 3-pack of quarterbacks, you could say, hey man, I want to be a part. I want a better offensive environment. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. Malik Nabers is the elite of the elite. And if you want to put him as your dynasty wide receiver one, I have zero qualms about you doing so. He's a 22 or 23-year-old wide receiver who is thriving with suspect quarterback play at best. I mean, he just led Russell Wilson to his best performance since 2019. And it was because Russ was just like, hey, I'm going to throw moon balls and that guy's going to go catch him. And again, they get the Chiefs this week. No offense, Mike, but they play cover zero at this, like, double the second highest rate team in the league, almost 20% of cover zero. So that to me screams that Malik Nabers could have another monster week. And we could be talking about him, hey, as literally the dynasty wide receiver one with no equivocations after another monster performance this week.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say we deserve wholeheartedly Jameis Winston as the quarterback of this team throwing passes to Malik Nabers. We deserve that.
So all right, hear me out.
We work hard.
It works with Russ though, because Russ can't see over the line, so he's not going to throw it over the middle of the field, but there might not be a better deep passer of the football outside of maybe like Geno Smith in the entire NFL. I mean, I'm not being facetious. Like that's
no, you're not.
Like,
I mean, Russ, the Seahawks thrived on it.
Yeah, he's incredible at the moon ball. So maybe this is what we want. I don't know. What do you guys think? I was so out on Malik Nabers because of how bad I thought Daniel Jones was, which I'm eating crow on that now too. So I was out on Malik Nabers, but now it's undeniable.
Mm-hmm. I've been on him since day one, and I'll continue to be there. For forever. I mean, he just his metrics, all those things. He was outperforming Jamar Chase at LSU, even at the combine. He outperformed him too. So that's elite stuff. And with somebody that could get him the ball, you could just see what he could do. And love it. I love it. I mean, both those guys are neck and neck, and I'm just glad that I could put him in that same tier and not be looked at and laughed at anymore.
It also begs the question, what are we going to do with Xavier Thomas and Barry Brown? Am I right, guys?
All right. Well, on that note, let's get into our stock up, stock down, guys. And let's start with our stock ups. And Schultzy, you're first on the docket. So let's hear who you got as your stock up.
Yeah, and Chev just mentioned it, and it's Daniel Jones. And we're getting the resurgence here over in Indianapolis. And the stock ups here for me, because I am a little bit, I think, on the flip side of Chev. I think the rug's going to get pulled out from under us on this one at some point, and I'm looking to get out if I can. Coach talked earlier about the kind of tier down quarterback trade here, and that's the plan I'd be attacking with Daniel Jones. Is I'd be looking, likely playing a super flex. So like losing this number at quarterback is a huge deal. If you're a competitor and he's your QB3, it might be really hard to move this guy because that is just such a valuable position to have Daniel Jones in. However, I would be looking for the QB tier down and adding a pick. I'm getting the I want to say 23 or 22. I don't remember what year. One of the two.
22.
Carolina Panthers vibes. Sam Darnold early in the season goes and shocks the world and looks fantastic in an afternoon slate against the Cowboys, right? And everyone was like, whoa, the Panthers are real. Sam Darnold, this guy's legit. And now we know how the Sam Darnold story is playing out here, but I do think he's better than Daniel Jones. And I do think we could see a similar situation to where fast forward a few weeks and the league had that Panthers offense figured the heck out. I just got the feeling we are heading that direction, and Indy defensive coordinators are struggling with the new wrinkles and stuff they've got going with Daniel Jones, and they're just I think they're going to catch up.
I think he's here to stay. I think Daniel Jones is a guy I've been high on all offseason. I said it before in camp, he was going to win that job, and I wasn't predicting him coming out and playing the way he has came out and played, but I was really high on him, and I was high on him last year after a couple of situations there. Injuries plagued his season, and a shitty offensive line in New York, and he's got some protection. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Sorry. Top 10
Uh,
upside's always been there.
Yeah, a less than optimal offensive line. Now he's got that. He's got a running back as well that is playing at an elite level. So I just think that he's gonna be there as long as his leash is going to be there for the whole year. So unless they completely derail, in my opinion, that division is up for grabs, and it's looking pretty soft at this stage. So I think there's a lot of optimism here for Daniel Jones to not only play through this year, he could play in a contract for next year too. So they might have found their guy there in Indy.
Would you guys give up Daniel Jones right now for a Superflex 26 first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Unequivocally, just no hesitation.
Yes.
Okay, because I got somebody I might be on the hook for who's, because I've got him in these dynasties, and I'm appearing at cash out opportunity. I've got the guy on the ropes for a second. He may feel desperate for a first, which I think I can get. And the beauty is, oh my God, Dawson Knox, man, he almost scored a touchdown. Other story for another day. But essentially, I've had discussions with people. This is back in the summer, where they were like, hey, what do you want for Daniel Jones after a startup? Grindberg Invitational. And somebody said, I said, hey, look, I plan on selling him for a first. Click. They thought I was crazy. But that's my plan. I'm going to sell him for a first, or I'm just going to reap the rewards and profit. Now, if that doesn't hit, I'm willing to live with that loss, that outcome. So, yeah, I just wanted to pick your guys' brain on that. I think the run out for me, I'm not going to get that first in every league that I have him, but I think I'm going to get that somewhere.
Yeah, timing the market here is the crucial and critical portion of this, because you might be cashing out at the ceiling, but also the other person could be cashing out, like could be buying in and catching a falling knife.
I just saw your name, man. This is great. Keep going.
All right, let's rip it, and let's rip through these last little ones here. Okay,
Shame.
they're Schultzy. All right, who's next up on the docket? I think it's you there, Jer.
Oh, who are we talking about? Oh, yeah. Let me get Alec A. Manor. His stock is up. I love what he's been doing. Different spots that you can get him. Here are some price points. Dynasty Daddy, Alec A. Manor, 26 second. Beautiful. You love to see it. You got Alec A. Manor second again. Alec A. Manor for Trey Benson. I think that's pretty even. The trajectory is there where both sides can win. And then you have A. Manor and J.K. Dobbins for a 27 round 2 and a 28 round 2. Okay, I guess we're going to go up to the next presidential election where we can sell some picks. But that's what's out there on Dynasty Daddy. I really like Alec A. Manor, and just good stats so far. And in week 2, he got that touchdown reception, and we got to see a little bit of that play there. 6 targets, 4 receptions, got the touchdown, 56 yards. A little bit of a vividness bias now that he has that touchdown that printed. 15.6 fantasy points, a low-end wide receiver 2. A. Manor is just going to be a player that you're going to consistently, the drumbeat is going to pick up. And what's the rub on him? Just medicals, right? And in the first 4 years of a rookie contract, I'm not going to be so concerned with Alec A. Manor. So if you can get him on your roster, these 2s, these 3s, these little throw-in pick swaps, if you can acquire A. Manor in a throw-in, I think in a few weeks you're going to see the fact that the Titans are going to run very well with the schedule, starting with the Colts in week 3, and that the price is going to go up for somebody like A. Manor. My call on Calvin Ridley as this year's Terry McLaurin stance, and it's going to start in week 3, just as it did in week 3 last year against the Bengals for Terry McLaurin. You're going to see that run out for Cam Ward, especially Cam Ward's value was up. He's another buy low. So stock up is A. Manor, and there's some appropriate prices out there for him.
I agree with that. And there is a very nervous burrito on the show tonight, and we are gonna move on to Biggs' stock up.
Well,
Is the burrito more nervous than the person?
It depends, right? I mean,
don't
No
look
burrito
down.
seen me and had a good day afterwards. I'll just say that.
I always say it's a bad day for hot dogs. Don't look now, but there is a new third-year breakout wide receiver, and he's down there in
Treylon
Los
Burks?
Angeles, also Irvine. Name of Quentin Johnston. Now, a couple years ago in his draft, we had 3 main wide receivers that were kind of the talk of the draft class: Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, and Quentin Johnston. And what a lot of people said was that Addison was going to be the producer right away. Jackson Smith-Njigba was going to be the best of the class. And Quentin Johnston was kind of an afterthought because he was limited in what he could do. Well, the last 2 games, Quentin Johnston's usage has been pretty consistent. He has 7 targets in each of the last 2 games. His last game being against a fairly undervalued Raiders defensive backfield. He only had 3 catches on those 7 targets. When you go back and you look at what Quentin Johnston did in 2024, he really started to come alive in week 11 when he had 8 targets. And then he finished the season, his last 5 games, he had 7, 10, 6, 8, and 14. That 14 was kind of an outlier. It was going into the playoffs. It was against the Raiders, and Ladd McConkey was kind of banged up. But Greg Roman has a game plan for Quentin Johnston, and that is get him the ball deep when he's open and target him about 7 times a game. What that's going to do is bring you a consistent floor at about 15 points per game in fantasy. I like that, especially if you're drafting him as your wide receiver 4. He's going in the range of the 12th round in drafts, or he was. He's sandwiched right between Luther Burden and Calvin Ridley. And at this point, I would much rather have Quentin Johnston than either of those two guys. He's got a couple guys ahead of him, like Kayshon Boutte, who, I mean, we haven't seen consistent production out of Booty. We've seen it out of Quentin Johnston. He's ahead of Jaden Reed and Brandon Ayuk. We've seen much more consistency from Quentin Johnston than we have from those two guys. His stock is way up. If you're holding on to him, hold him for longer, because there is a possibility that this guy is going to present you with a standard floor of 15 points per game as your wide receiver 3 or in a flex spot, and that is beautiful. If somebody's coming after him from you, go ahead and just don't even make the trade unless they're willing to overpay. Quentin Johnston's stock is way up. If you can pull him from somebody that doesn't have much wide receiver need or has wide receiver depth and he's available, trade Jaden Reed for him, trade Brandon Ayuk for him. Go ahead and make those deals. That's where his value is at, but his return on that value is going to be higher than those guys.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much they are passing their above expectancy right now in LA. So hopefully that continues for Quentin Johnston and all our shares of that Chargers wide receiver room. Now, Chev, let's get into your stock up, man. Who do you got on the slate as a guy that you're looking to stock up the board with?
Freight Train Tucker Kraft.
Pretty much,
considering the news of today,
tomorrow, yesterday, today, whatever time you're watching in the Bermuda Triangle time zone. Here's the deal. All right. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs for as long as you guys have listened to me about how awesome I think Tucker Kraft is. We've been going back and forth about this whole deal. Like, hey, Matt LaFleur said, I need to get him the ball more. Not just like, oh, some beat writer was like, man, maybe they should do this. The head coach, the guy who calls the plays, was like, hey, we need to give him the ball more. And then they were looking at it. It's like, oh, man, cool. You were like 133.4 when targeted as a passer rating. Oh, man, you led the league in yards after catch per reception. Oh, man, you scored 7 touchdowns on 65 targets. Yeah, maybe we should throw you the ball more. We can't figure out this whole wide receiver thing. So, like, maybe we just throw it to a giant human being who's big and fast and catches everything. Seems like it's working out pretty well. And you can still go get some really ludicrous deals done for Harold Fannin Jr. right now. I mean, oops. Sorry. I let the cart get before the horse right there. You can go get Tucker Kraft for Harold Fannin Jr. and a 3rd-round pick. You can go get Tucker Kraft in a full point tight end premium for a 2026 second and a 2027 second. You're a contender, I'm not thinking twice about that. If I need any sort of tight end help, or if I just need depth, you can still go get a guy who's probably, I've been screaming at the top of my lungs, Tucker Kraft's going to be a top 4 tight end. I think that there's a very, very good chance, especially with the injury to Kittle, that he finishes not only as a tight end 4 overall, but in points per game. So, yeah, Tucker Kraft's my stock up, and I could not be more excited about it.
I just don't understand why we need to throw him to Baltimore. You said throw him to Balmer.
Throw him to Baltimore, not to Baltimore. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, let's get into my stock up quick, and then we'll power through our stock downs. My riser is Javonte Williams, and I mentioned it on the forecast. I was seriously doubting him with that crowded backfield, but it looks like he is injury shooken off, and now he is in a running back friendly system, and there was red flags all over the place, but he's got back-to-back weeks where he sees control of the Cowboys backfield, one of the more reliable and productive running backs in all of fantasy, headed into week 3. He's catching passes, scoring touchdowns, and more importantly, he's earned the volume. Blue's still inactive, and Sanders is just a relief guy at this stage. It's all Williams' show, and he's had top 5 finishes in weeks 1 and 2. He's got high volume, high workload. He's efficient and explosive as well. So it looks like he's back to what he was, coming out into the league when Denver drafted him so highly. There's no committee now. The injury hangover is over, and as long as he can stay healthy, stock up, wheels up, doubts down, and Javonte's season is here to stay, in my opinion, now.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Bro, I was so upset. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was really, really upset about Javonte Williams being a thing because as a guy who's a former Stan and now I'm being burned in back years, I finally was like, it's enough. You can't keep doing this to yourself, JC. So, seeing Javonte Williams be good is, good for past JC. But me personally, myself today, right now, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever time it is, I can't endorse this message, Grindberg.
I know. I was a big Javonte guy too, and
it definitely feels dirty.
It does. Yeah. It's like the Sanchez of the day. All right, there, Schultzy, get into your stock down real quick.
We'll knock them out real quick. The sophomore slump is real for Bo Nix. It's scary, man. He appears to be getting scheme covered up by Sean Payton. The ADOT is like really low. He's throwing a ton of balls, like less than 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. The offensive line has been fantastic, yet the inaccuracy has been a problem. He's been terrible under pressure. Some of the decision-making has not been there. It has been a rough start for Bo Nix, and I'm very concerned about it.
Mm-hmm. It's a great, I mean, this defense is so stout too. So I'm not sure there's going to be such a, opportunity for some of these shootouts. His rushing ability is still there. So I'm still holding. And I've still got some optimism there. He's still finding his way. Got some emerging wide receivers like Troy Franklin looking like he's a real deal here in that Michael Thomas role. So maybe that could produce something. They're still working out their running back room, which is kind of muddled right now. J.K. Dobbins is obviously the lead guy at this stage. So I'm not selling at this stage, but definitely his stock is not where it needs to be when you draft him as a top 8 quarterback and redraft, or if you went into a startup, you're investing that type of capital on him as a quarterback. So
just wait till he gets right against the Chiefs. You guys just have small Bo Nix energy.
All right, Coach. Who's your stock down, man? Or stock up? Hey, stock up? Stock down. Stock down.
Yep. Easy, simple, nice. It's Caleb Johnson, back end of the first round in rookie drafts. And now entry point for you. You can get him, send a third, send a fourth, send some clogging up offers that are disrespectful for Caleb Johnson. So that's the beauty. The stock is down and the buying season is here. Both can apply and send them out. They're rude. If people don't want it, then they can just hold the bag for now. And law of large numbers, though, you will get people to bite and panic, and you turn over and reap profit. And then your entry point to what the payout is phenomenal. So stock down low, Caleb Johnson, but buy low at the same time, but don't be pressed.
You got to love that kickoff that he just let roll behind him this week as someone who's trying to enter in on the buy, right? Because that's not going to affect his long-term. Was it a stupid play? Absolutely. Should you feel stupid yourself making that play? Probably. But let's be real. It ain't going to affect his career.
Not at all.
All right, Bigz. Who do you got?
Same words that Coach just said, only apply them to Jacksonville, Florida's own Boise State legend, Ashton Gentil. He's not in a great situation right now in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is 32nd in the NFL in yards before contact amongst their running backs. That's bad. Their run blocking is bad. If there's one person that can overcome that, it's Ashton Gentil, who saw the second highest number of loaded boxes that last year, but they just haven't had a game script that benefited getting the ball to him. And he made some noise about it. He came out and said, I don't know why you would draft me this high without giving me the ball more. So I see good days ahead for Ashton Gentil. Just like Coach said, go ahead and try and get him get his owners who are in panic mode to give him over to you, because the dude is legit. There's one aspect of a running back's profile that portends top 12 finishes in fantasy, and that is a third year third year emergence, only being in college for 3 years. Ashton Genty is 21 years old. He won't be 22 until December. He's got a long career ahead of him. And if people are panicking now over a couple of bad starts to begin his career, you better take advantage. That's what stock down is all about.
All right. Chevy, what do you got?
Ladidi, Ladarius, McConkey, the first and the third.
Yeah.
So people didn't really take it seriously when Keenan Allen re-signed with the Chargers. And this has created a buying opportunity for Ladidi, Ladarius McConkey, who's been one of the most open wide receivers in the entire NFL. And this is going to correct itself. We're going to course correct. So we got 9 targets in week 1. We got 5 targets, 5 catches in week 2, and he missed him on a wide open touchdown. They're going to review that, and they're going to try to feature him at some point in the next couple of weeks. It might not be, well, Denver does have one of the highest single coverage rates in the league, and they play a ton of man coverage. So I think that this could be the breakout game for Ladarius Ladidi McConkey. So with this depressed value right now, because we were getting him steamed up into that wide receiver 9, wide receiver 10, range as far as dynasty goes, we could take advantage of some depressed value right now because people aren't happy with what he's producing at the moment. But we're talking about the single game record holder for a rookie in terms of yardage in the playoffs. So I want to take this opportunity to go buy as much Lad McConkey as humanly possible without having to break the bank.
Hashtag Dadides for Ladidi.
That's for Lad. All right. I'm going to leave this short and sweet because we talked about Brian Thomas Jr. already as, a guy that is under the microscope right now. To me, I think it's more of a Trevor Lawrence problem than it is a Brian Thomas Jr. problem. I've always been a little bit skeptical of Trevor Lawrence. And hopefully that changes. Hopefully that chemistry builds. Maybe a mid-season trade for Mac Jones is in the cards or something like that. We shall see. But I'm in a buying stage here for Brian Thomas Jr. His stock is down, but the talent's there. He's shown elite athleticism and elite connection with a quarterback. So maybe he can develop that with Trevor Lawrence, hopefully, and emerge there. We're seeing a Liam Cohen offense that's still getting its traction and finding its rhythm, but any offense does definitely veer towards their top playmakers, and definitely Brian Thomas Jr. is there. So if I can get him on the cheap, I'm there doing it.
I thought we just had 5 minutes of Schultzy explaining that it's not Trevor Lawrence's issue. It's a Brian Thomas Jr. thing.
Hey.
I'm disagreeing with him, so that's my
okay.
Love it.
All right, Bigz, take us home. It's getting into week 3 weekend warm up, and got a lot of action happening.
All right, everybody get in the car. I'm not going until all seatbelts are buckled.
Click.
Chev,
Your seatbelt.
seatbelt. Hey, everybody, thank you for watching once again. We will be back next week with another edition of the Dynasty Pulse Weekend Warm-Up for Week 4. Go ahead and go over to fantasysportsadvice.com. Sign up for a pro membership. Get involved in the community. There's a lot of stuff going on. We've got lots of shows on YouTube, tons of stuff happening. It doesn't even matter what your sport is. Go to the fantasysportsadvice.com merch shop, cop your merch. And get involved in the comments. You put comments, we respond. That's how this works. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. I just had another couple subscribers sign up today. So you want to be a part of that if you're catching this randomly, because, like I said, we're a collection of the best ball knowers in the business, and you want to be on this train. Choo choo. We hope you win.
Hope you win, folks. See you next week.